felt like I had family, and I had an extended family, and I created relationships that to this day I still cherish.
I went looking for the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and you saw me and you heard me. You listened to the cry of that little girl in 1966, and you listened to the cry of thousands of little girls since then.
They taught us to think about others first. They taught us how to bring out the best in others, and to give of yourself was truly a great experience, and something that really did change my life.
I gotta say that if not for that basketball coach eradicating that word can't, I probably would not be here today. There would be no Neo, because I would have listened to the first person that told me that I can't, and I wouldn't be here.
I believe very strongly that the best decision their leaders ever made was to admit girls in 1990. Girls have arrived and are our future.
I just never thought, as a 13-year-old girl attending the Boys and Girls Club of San Pedro, that I would go on to become the first African-American female soloist for the American Ballet Theater in over 2 decades.
I consider the Boys Club home. And if they think enough of me to put me in their Hall of Fame, I'm humbled by the occasion.
I want to thank Mr. George Brown, who was my father from the time my mom and dad dropped me off at day camp until the time they came and picked me up that evening. He was my camp counselor, a track coach, my American history teacher, but most importantly, he's been my friend for 35 years, and for that I am truly thankful.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Boys and Girls Clubs of America's annual Alumni Hall of Fame celebration. And now, your host for the evening, 2005 Alumni Hall of Fame inductee, award-winning actor and author, Courtney B. Vance.
Good evening and welcome. You all look so wonderful. There's a lot of you out here again, huh? Before I begin, I'd like to bring up the 2015 National Youth of the Year, Ms. Monica Sullivan, to act as my assistant up here today. Ms. Monica, would you come up, please? Isn't she loved? No, okay. This evening, as an organization, we gather to celebrate our Boys and Girls Club Hall of Fame 25th Anniversary Gala. That's an opportunity for you to clap. As a country, however, we have arrived at a paradox of our time in history. We have taller buildings but shorter tempers. Wider freeways, but narrower viewpoints. We spend more, but we have less. We buy more, but we enjoy less. We have bigger houses and smaller families, but more conveniences and less time. We have more degrees, but less sense. We have more knowledge, but less judgment. More experts, but more problems. More medicine and less wellness. We drink too much. We smoke too much. We spend too recklessly. We laugh too little. We drive too fast. We get too angry, stay up too late, get too bored, read too little, watch too much TV, and pray too seldom. We have multiplied our possessions, but reduced our values. We talk too much. We love too seldom. We hate too often. We've learned how to make a living, but not a life. We've added years to life, but not life to years. We've been all the way to the moon and beyond and back, but we have trouble crossing the street or the hallway to meet a new neighbor. We've conquered outer space. Well, we've conquered outer space, but not inner space. We've done larger things, but not better things. We've cleaned up the air, but polluted the soul. We've conquered the atom, but not our prejudice. We write more, but learn less. We've learned to rush, but not to wait. We build faster computers to hold more information, but we communicate less and less and less. We have a 2-term Nobel Prize winning African American president, but black men still make up 38% of our prison population and still routinely receive questionable treatment in police custody, which has threatened the collective breath of a nation. We truly need to go back to basics. Yet, in spite of the meltdown in Ferguson and Baltimore burning, there are some things that I believe just are. Deep down inside, we all know this one thing. What matters in life is more than just winning for ourselves. What matters in this life is helping others win, even if it means slowing down and changing the course of our own lives. And that selflessness goes to the very heart of what the Boys and Girls Clubs of America are really all about. I truly believe that the Boys and Girls Clubs of America is a back-to-basics kind of organization. And it is because they have that kind of attitude that they have survived all the winds of change that have swept and continue to sweep this country. And yet they remain deeply committed to their mission of preparing young boys and girls for life. I am the man I am today because my parents continued to place me and my sister in positive places where we could dream. And in this world where nothing is true and everything is relative, where nothing is sacred and everything is fair game, where the basest part of our nature is lifted up and the moral high ground is below sea level, it is imperative that we continue to provide support for organizations such as the Boys and Girls Clubs of America for their commitment to families, because as the family goes, so goes the country. As the family goes, so goes the world. Can you imagine a world without our Boys and Girls Clubs of America? Can you imagine not having a safe place for your children or your children's children to play and to grow? Conversely, can you imagine if the men and women who fill our juvenile centers and jails had a safe place to play when they were young, where positive and not destructive behavior was rewarded? As the songwriter says, what a wonderful world this would be. Fortunately, the Boys and Girls Clubs of America is an organization that prides itself on keeping its 154-year-old focus pure, on being a positive place for kids. The Boys and Girls Clubs of America is an organization that is committed to helping young people win. And because I don't think we can ever say thank you enough to someone who believes in us, once again, and I do it every year, once again, I would like to thank all those counselors those quiet heroes who over the years have helped countless boys and girls, myself included, even if it meant personal sacrifice, even if it meant changing the course of their own lives. For that reason, and for many others, I would like us all to stand and give the counselors and support staff of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, our heroes, a rousing standing ovation. That's right. That's right. Now you got a chance to stretch your legs. The inductees are a little nervous. They got a chance to shake a little bit. My sister's here. Hey, Cecily. What's up? From 3 world-renowned artists to an NFL Hall of Famer to a costume designer to the stars to a professional golfer and 3 iconic business leaders. These are truly some remarkable alumni who were impacted greatly by the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Their accomplishments are all the more amazing when you learn where they started and the obstacles they overcame to achieve their status. You'll meet a woman who captivates audiences all over the world with her mesmerizing mezzo-soprano voice. I won't even sing. I won't go there. You'll meet a kid whose eyes were opened to a world of possibilities by the club and now oversees one of the biggest family entertainment industries in the world. We'll meet a young girl whose coloring and drawing led her to costume designing for over 40 films, becoming the first African American to be nominated by the Academy in that category. We'll meet a boy who was awarded a fine arts scholarship by Boys and Girls Clubs of America that took him to France to study and later winning Grammys for his gifted ability on the strings. Each of our inductees has a unique story. Those highlights that you saw only scratched the surface. But one thing is for sure, they received guidance and direction at a critical time in their lives from a Boys and Girls Club. And now let's get the evening started by meeting the first of our 2015 Alumni Hall of Fame inductees. Honorees are seated in the front row, and I think it's time to get down. Can I ask a question? Later.
The spirit, excitement, and enthusiasm at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Washington are what first hooked Denise Graves. She especially loved participating in jazz dance classes. More than anything, the club gave her a sense of pride and belonging. Her mother, Dorothy, worked 3 jobs to support her 3 children. She took comfort in knowing her kids were spending time constructively at the club and not in the often dangerous streets of 1970s Washington, D.C. After graduating from Duke Ellington's School of the Arts, Denise studied voice at Oberlin Conservatory of Music and New England Conservatory. While living in Boston, Denise cleaned dorms and worked as an overnight hotel desk clerk to support herself. After a 3-year apprenticeship with the Houston Grand Opera, Denise became an operatic superstar. The mezzo-soprano has sung with legends like Luciano Pavarotti and Placido Domingo. Denise is especially well known for her portrayals of the title roles in Carmen and Samson and Delilah, which she has performed with renowned companies such as the Metropolitan Opera, the Vienna State Opera, and La Scala in Milan. Last summer, Denise returned to D.C. to serve as featured ambassador artist for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Washington's Teen Arts Performer Program. Please welcome Denise Graves.
My goodness, good evening. And thank you for that tremendous, warm, and generous reception. I'd like to thank the Boys and the Girls Club Hall of Fame Committee and Tony Small, who I suspect is the culprit behind my being recognized this evening. I will tell you that as I approached the stage with such a warm reception from the audience, I feel embarrassed, quite honestly, for I was the fortunate one. I was the lucky one. I was one of the many blessed ones who had the opportunity to attend the Boys and the Girls Club. And so it is the efforts of those who work tirelessly in their commitment to the lives of so many who have gone out and made an incredible difference in this world. So I feel embarrassed to accept an honor in which I had already received the gift by being an Boys and Girls Club attendee many years ago. I started at the Boys and the Girls Club before it was the Girls Club, when it was just the Boys Club. My brother was attending and was having such a wonderful time that my sister and I said, hey, we want to go too. And I remember actually at our particular club when they changed the sign, and we watched them change the sign to include the Girls Club along that. One of the photos that they showed with me in the black leotard and the yellow tutu was actually from the Boys and Girls Club. I grew up one of three in Southeast Washington, D.C., and was an extremely withdrawn and socially awkward little girl, and my mother was quite concerned about that, and I said that secretly I wanted to learn how to dance and to move on stage. And so it was the Boys and the Girls Club that provided me that very first opportunity, because I came from a family where it was not possible for my mother to afford to send me to fancy ballet schools, and I started dancing for the very first time at the Boys and the Girls Club, and that became my first audience and helped me become who I am. It was part of my nourishing ground. So it is in fact I who want to stand and also salute the Boys and the Girls Club for their effort, for giving me the life that I enjoy today. It is because of people who have been so committed to extending themselves in such a way to offer a place, a real safe haven to be and to grow and to imagine and to create, not just for myself, but for so many people in my neighborhood where we grew up. And so I'm forever grateful to you for all of your mighty work that you're doing, which I think is God's work, in extending yourselves and offering a place for little girls and boys to be and to feel important in a world that was telling us we were not important. So I want to thank you and much continued success with this beautiful mission that you're doing that gives so much to the world and to so many lives. And I know that with this work, you're changing the world. So I want to just thank you very sincerely for all the work that you do. I don't think that this moment is about me. I think that this moment is about you and about what you continue to give to the lives of so many people. And for that, I am eternally grateful, and I thank you.
When Larry Young was 5 years old, his granddad would take him into Springfield, Missouri to watch boxing matches at the Boys Club. Larry liked it so much that he became a club member. At the club, Larry enjoyed boxing and playing basketball, gaining different qualities from each. Basketball taught him the importance of teamwork. Boxing trained him to go one-on-one and to know when to lead. Jim McManus, a meat cutter at a local supermarket, was the boxing coach. School teacher Don Henderson volunteered as basketball coach. The fact that the men donated their time to help out a bunch of kids meant a lot to Larry. But what stood out most to him was how the club helped kids better themselves. They learned social skills, the value of diversity, and the fact that there was much more to the world than the small piece of it they occupied. Being born and raised on a farm taught Larry the value of hard work, which the club reinforced. He began his career driving a truck for Pepsi. Today, he is CEO and president of Dr. Pepper Snapple Group. Larry and his wife Colette, a trustee for Boys and Girls Clubs of America, support clubs at both the local and national levels. This includes serving as national co-chairs for Boys and Girls Clubs of America's Alumni and Friends Association. Please welcome to the stage, Larry Young.
I don't know where in the world they got those pictures. I think the name on our basketball team was Correct Rejects. You know, I just come here today and I'm like our previous award winner. You know, this is all about you guys. I mean, who could imagine a farm boy that grew up with his mom and dad, born in the military, went to a Boys and Girls Club, and was taught there's nothing I couldn't do if I didn't set my mind to it. As the video said, I started as a helper on a truck, and I worked my way up to CEO of the company. That's a message you guys need to take back to every one of these kids. I mean, I love you guys, the work you do. They talked about Jim McManus. Jim McManus was a meat cutter at a grocery store called Ramey's in Springfield, Missouri. And he donated his time. He would volunteer and come in there. And the man taught me at a young age to punch above my weight. And I still do that, and I'm pretty heavy today. But I want to thank you guys, and I especially want to thank my wife for getting me back into the Boys and Girls Club about 8 years ago. We attended a regional meeting. They asked me to give out the Youth of the Year for the Southwest. When I gave it out, I started off with I was a club kid. The audience almost fell over. There's a lot of us out there, and we're going to go find them. We're going to bring them in. But thank you for this award, and thank you for everything you do. Think every day. What are these kids going to be when they grow up? We give them an opportunity. You know, one of the videos I did for the Boys and Girls Club, they asked me about my hopes and dreams, and I'm not a big hopes and dream guy, I'm a reality guy. 100% of the people in the world dream. 5% make them come true. Let's be that 5% for these kids.
From age 8 to 18, Andre Reed could be found at the Boys and Girls Club of Allentown almost every day of the week. He felt secure and safe at the club, where staff members felt almost like parents. The minute he arrived, Andre would grab a basketball or football. But the club wasn't just about sports. It taught him to respect everyone, be resilient, and always strive to improve yourself. At the club, he learned that if he worked hard and kept the right people around him, there was no way he wouldn't succeed. Andre began his football career at Allentown's Deeriff High School, where he starred as the team's quarterback. He then enrolled at Kutztown University, a Division II school 30 minutes from Allentown. He was moved to wide receiver, where he set school records for catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns in a game, season, and career. Andre's speed and toughness drew the attention of NFL scouts. In 1985, he was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 4th round of the NFL draft. For 15 seasons, he was a standout player for the Bills, including playing in 4 Super Bowls. In 2014, he achieved the pinnacle of professional football success when he was inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Please welcome Andre Reed.
Hey, Larry, I don't know where you got those pictures from, but mine are ridiculous. Man. Wow. What an honor it is to be here tonight. I'm very humbled to be a part of the Boys and Girls Club 25th Annual Gala. My selection to this very exclusive club and organization, along with the other past inductees and 8 soon-to-be new alumni, sheds light not only on my athletic accomplishments, but more importantly, my commitment to helping individuals be the best they can be and have their dreams come true. As a child growing up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, the Boys and Girls Club gave me that chance. I was taught the values that I needed, like respect, discipline, compassion, character, and hard work. And these things live with me today, which I teach my 2 children. My daughter, Auburn, who's here tonight. Auburn, stand up. I'm glad she's here. So glad she's here. Being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame last year just puts a stamp on these values I was taught. The impressive list of athletes and entertainers, business people, government, all share a common goal. We all share the same thing. We want to make this world a better place, where children can become a positive impact in their communities and leaders in the future. My experience with the Boys and Girls Club started when I was 6 years old, probably that afro right there. And I was there probably till I was about 14 or 15. In the summertime, I was there every day. My mom knew where I was. And I was telling some of the inductees, we played with flat basketballs, flat footballs, everything was flat. That's how we did it. But you know, the underlying factor in that is we still played with them. Regardless, we still play with them. How much fun I had, it was just a lot of fun. And I'd be there for hours at a time. Like I said, I'd be there all day. My mom would have to come get me. While my mom and dad worked to put food on the table, the Boys and Girls Club gave me a place of security and safety. What I did on the field is documented. What I do off the field is my legacy. I support the Boys and Girls Club through my foundation in Allentown, by having a celebrity golf tournament every year. So if anybody wants to play some golf, y'all need to come on. And I'm proud to be a part of preparing these kids for the future. This organization has held a great place in my heart that I'll never forget. I want to thank, again, the Boys and Girls Club, Frank Sanchez, who called me about 3-4 months ago. He's a Jets fan. We're not going to hold that against him. And said that they were going to induct me into this Alumni Hall of Fame. And I said, I just had the most exhilarating experience of my life last August, but that wouldn't be possible without this. Your dedication and leadership make our communities better and help shape the leaders of tomorrow, giving them the best chance to achieve a great future. Thank you very much.
Robert Gamez and his brother Randy became best friends at the Lead Memorial Boys and Girls Club in Las Vegas. Robert saw himself as his little brother's guardian, which helped them grow closer and closer. As a youth, Robert had a rare gift for the game of golf. He credits the club with giving him the discipline to practice his game diligently. When he was 17, he won the 1985 Southern Nevada Amateur. At the University of Arizona, Robert won the Jack Nicklaus College Golfer of the Year Award. He went pro in 1989. His first time out as a PGA Tour member, Robert won the 1990 Northern Telecom Open. He topped that by beating Greg Norman on the final hole to win the 1990 Nestle Invitational, with Randy as his caddy. Those victories led to Robert being named 1990 PGA Tour Rookie of the Year. Throughout his career, Robert has given back to communities where he's lived. Since 1990, Team Gamez Foundation has contributed over $1 million to children's charities in Las Vegas and Orlando. Every year, he hosts the Robert Gamez Celebrity Invitational to benefit the foundation. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Lake and Sumter County is a main beneficiary of the foundation. When the school board eliminated after-school transportation, Robert raised $60,000 for the club to buy a bus. He and his wife Denise also hold a holiday party at the club, where every kid goes home with a toy of their choosing. For some, it may be the only holiday gift they receive. Please welcome Robert Gamez.
Talking about pictures again. I feel honored to be up here tonight with all you people. I'm a little scared. A lot of people in the room for me. All these inductees tonight are great people. We had lunch earlier, and to be inducted in this Hall of Fame with all the people that are here, all the people that have been inducted in the past is just a great honor for me. And I'm just thankful for what the Boys and Girls Clubs have done for me, and what do for all the kids in the world. So, anyway, now I've got a speech written so I don't mess up, but I probably will anyway. First, I want to start by thanking Freddie Williams, Tony Orr, and Jim Clark for making this happen. It's such an honor for me, as I said, and my wife Denise over there. She's been by me and with our foundation. Obviously, growing up in Las Vegas comes with a whole different set of temptations as a kid. Before I made the decision to focus on golf, the Boys and Girls Club was there for me, keeping me off the streets and teaching me more than just academics. As a Boys and Girls Club kid, you learn selflessness. You learn there are people who care about you and not because they have to. You learn how to play well with others, which is what my brother and I did. And you leave with valuable tools on how to be a productive adult. And I think that's the greatest thing, and it's with all the the counselors and at the clubs. That's what you guys teach, and you guys deserve a round of applause for that. As a kid, I was fortunate that I never had anything keeping me from playing golf. I wasn't sick, I didn't get injured, and while we weren't rich, I had enough to be able to practice and play on the high school golf team. It also earned me a scholarship to the University of Arizona. What I hope by helping the Boys and Girls Clubs is the kids we work with are given the same opportunity that I had. And being a club kid, they will have the necessary skills to take full advantage. Let's see, these are the lessons my wife and I got behind the Boys and Girls Clubs of these are the reasons my wife and I got behind the Boys and Girls Clubs of South Lake County. When we first saw the club, they had 65 kids and were set up in a church. The staff and volunteers had to set up and tear down every day, and the kids didn't have a sense of ownership. 3 years later, and thanks to the hard work of Freddie Williams, the board, and the staff, we have a permanent home, and last summer we had over 300 kids participate. The great thing, the kids know it's their club. They have a permanent, safe place to go every day. Our club statistics speak for themselves. 100% graduation rate. Zero pregnancies compared to 500 in the counties we serve. And no arrests among club kids compared to over 1,200 in the counties we serve. I mean, that's just fantastic. And that's what you get counselors, and that's what being at a Boys and Girls Club does for you. It just keeps you out of trouble, gives you some structure, and helps you get along. Denise and I, along with our foundation, are committed to the excellence of the Boys and Girls Clubs, of what they bring. And thanks again for this prestigious honor. I'm looking forward to being a lifelong ambassador. Thank you.
When Earl Corliss was 10 years old, he won a local violin competition. His first thought was, hey, I can do this. He set his sights on becoming a violinist and never looked back. The instrument also led him to the Boys Club of Pasadena. His violin teacher had another student who attended the club and suggested that Earl check it out. Director Tom Thompson was the first person Earl met at the club. Tommy, as everyone called him, was the most upbeat, enthusiastic person Earl had ever met. Homework and violin practice meant Earl could only go to the club Saturday afternoons. Tommy, who was a real rock hound, introduced him to lapidary work. Earl found that he really enjoyed polishing and cutting stones. It made for a relaxing diversion from a demanding practice schedule. It was also Tommy who told Earl about the Epstein Fine Arts Fund grant, which was administered by Boys Clubs of America. At the age of 12, Earl received an Epstein grant for music studies. He moved to France and attended the Paris Conservatory from 1955 to 1957. He then entered the Juilliard School in New York City, where he made his recital debut in 1962. Earl subsequently became a member of the Juilliard String Quartet, one of the most famous and respected string quartets in the world. From 1966 to 1986, he performed more than 2,100 concerts and recorded over 100 works with the quartet, winning 3 Grammy Awards during that time frame. Today, Earl teaches violin and chamber music at Juilliard. He lives in Connecticut with his wife, the much-admired pianist Anne Shine Corliss. Please welcome Earl Corliss.
Thank you very, very much. At my age, when you get an introduction like that, it's usually followed by, "And may he rest in peace." I have such a soft spot in my heart for the boys' clubs because the foundation, the Epstein Foundation that was founded, that was administered by the Boys Club. And by the way, Julius Epstein's son, Dan, is here tonight, and I'm just thrilled that he's able to participate in this. But they helped me and my brother Jerry, who was a timpanist and a percussionist at Juilliard, and he served as for 21 years as timpanist of the Philadelphia Orchestra with Eugene Ormandy. And the two of us have everything, we owe everything to the boys' clubs and this foundation that helped us all through our student years, and even up to the point of paying for a New York debut recital for me in 1962. Never forget that. When I joined the Juilliard Quartet in 1966, within the week, we played in Chicago, and I invited Mr. Epstein and his wife to come to the concert, and they came, and I was thrilled. And Mr. Epstein said, "Now, is this really what you want to do? Are you really happy about this?" I said, "You have no idea. I am thrilled to death to be a member of one of the great quartets in the world." And so the next morning, we didn't have to leave. We were leaving the next afternoon. I went up to his office. 26-year-old stupid musician, you don't just walk into an office like that. But I did, and the secretary said, I introduced myself, and she said, "Well, let me get Mr. Epstein." And he came out, he was in a meeting, and he was so thrilled and pleased, and I was suddenly kind of sort of overwhelmed. All the time that I had been with the organization sort of came on me, and I said, "You know, I feel such an extraordinary feeling of gratitude. I wish there was some way that I could repay you." He said, "Oh, there is. You'll be in a position to help youngsters yourself someday. That's the pay. We pass it on from one generation to the next." And he went back to his meeting, and then I suddenly thought, wait a minute. I said to the secretary, "I'm sorry, I should have made an appointment and I just walk in like this." She said, "Oh, it's okay. Mr. Epstein has told us that any boys' club's kids have priority." So I've spent my life since that time not only performing all these concerts, but teaching. I have taught hundreds and hundreds of students over the years, and I love every minute of it, and it's wonderful to see the nurturing that I can provide with these kids and the joy that they give me on a daily basis. Anyhow, I really appreciate this more than I can say, and thank you so much.
The minute 12-year-old Monique Mosley walked through the doors of the Boys and Girls Club of Dayton in Ohio, she found open arms waiting for her. The club was like a second home to Monique. Everyone there felt like extended family. Staff members were caring mentors who developed strong bonds with all of the kids. She especially enjoyed the dance classes and education programs. The club meant everything to Monique's mother. To know that her daughter was safe and being mentored meant that she could go to work and not worry about her. A marketing and public relations professional, Monique has worked as a publicist for artists such as Kanye West and T.I. She has also developed marketing campaigns for various companies, including Verizon, Turner Networks, and Motorola. Monique is the founder, with her husband, record producer Tim Timbaland Mosley, of the Always Believing Foundation, which works to address the health and wellness of today's youth. She is also an ambassador to the United Nations Youth Foundation, a board member for the nonprofit youth service group Miami Bridge, and serves as a trustee for Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Please welcome Monique Mosley.
I definitely was not responsible for those pictures. I first wanted to say thank you. As every one of us will say tonight, it's really about the volunteers, the staff, everyone who works at corporate, why we're even standing here. So it's truly a thank you to you. Thank you. Growing up in New Jersey, where all my family was, and having to move to Ohio, to Dayton, where we had no family. My mother was a single mother, 3 children. The Boys and Girls Club allowed us to have a home as she worked, sometimes 2 jobs. They allowed me to turn the word bossy into entrepreneurship. There was faculty members who said, "You want to be an entrepreneur?" Yes. So you can clean the bathrooms and I'll be your secretary. So I got lots of practice there, so thank you. But it meant so much to our family, because if not, we would have been another home with a single mother working hard. And I thank my mother for making sure that we were protected and safe. But I also thank everyone who worked there for keeping us protected and safe, and not feeling like we were being babysat, but we were being at home. So thank you.
At the Boys and Girls Club of Panama City, Tremaine Neverson felt right at home, even if his hometown was 1,000 miles away. He moved to the city on Florida's Panhandle with his mom and stepdad, an Army officer enrolled in dive school at the local naval base. It was a stressful time. Trey had never been away from his Virginia home. The club helped him adapt to the major life change. Trey first played organized sports at the club. He was especially good at volleyball. The coach encouraged Trey, telling him he had potential to play at the college level. He was also on the basketball team and learned to swim at the club. Trey enjoyed singing, mostly just in the shower and to songs on the radio. But when he was 14, friends convinced him to enter a local talent show. He turned in an exceptional performance. After graduating from high school, Trey pursued a music career. Within a year, he signed with Atlantic Records. In 2005, he released his first album, I Gotta Make It, under the stage name Trey Songz. Over the past decade, Trey has achieved remarkable success. The Grammy Award-nominated singer has twice won the Soul Train Music Award for Best Male R&B Soul Artist. His sixth album, Trigga, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 last July. Trey gives back by supporting the National Backpack for Kids program, which helps feed nutritionally challenged children. Please welcome Trey Songz.
Thank you. Thank you all. Before I say anything, I'd just like to look over and thank my mother. Mama, could you stand up so everybody could see you, please? Please stand up, Mama. I'd like to thank her because it's a lot of opportunities and a lot of things she could have done with her life. Having me early on in life kind of impeded the flow of a lot of dreams she may have had. But that didn't stop her from being an incredible mother. My mother sacrificed so many of her dreams to make sure that mine were able to come true. Thank you. So being from the small town of Petersburg, Virginia, and not having seen much outside of that population, probably at the time about 20,000 people, everybody knows everybody. And at the age of 7, my mother was engaged to be married. And my stepfather was going to dive school in Florida. So in the blink of an eye, we went from my hometown community, where my cousin was like my brother. We born like 20 days apart. Where I had 4 aunties, 2 grandmothers, and just a support system out of this world, even though my mother had me at the age of 17. When we moved down to Florida, I didn't know anybody. She didn't know anybody. She had taken on a job where as though she would work all day. She would send me off to school and I'd see her before I went to bed. This is the first time that I was introduced to so many different things when I walked through those doors of the Boys and Girls Club. I hadn't played organized sports before. In my elementary school, there were probably 4 or 5 people of other races outside of my own. So it gave me a true sense of diversity. It gave me a true sense of getting to know other people and seeing outside of my little neighborhood. And so much of what I talk to children about today is just because you're surrounded by a certain something. You know, they say it's inevitable that you become a product of your environment, but I say that's not true. Being surrounded by lesser than or mediocrity doesn't mean you have to become that. The Boys and Girls Club taught me that. It taught me a different world from the one that I knew. It taught me that I liked volleyball. We couldn't even play volleyball where I was from. We didn't have baseball fields. It was the first time I played baseball. It was an incredible experience, and more so it gave my mother a place of safety. She trusted me with these people, the people like you, excuse me. And that meant the world to her. Until I was 7 years old, I went to college with my mother. I was literally sitting in the seat next to her while she was at school. She worked at the recreation center in Petersburg, Virginia that I attended after school, so I couldn't get in trouble because my mom was a counselor. So until I got to Florida, it was the first time that I had left my mother's wing, and I had this whole safe haven of people who inspired me outside of my family, people that I believe one of the inductees said before did not have to love me because they were my family or because they knew me. It was because they chose to do so out the greatness of their heart. So like so many of the other inductees have said, y'all clap too much. Thank you, though. Like so many of us have said up here, it's all about you. You never know who that little guy is or that little girl is. You don't know what they're going through at home. You don't know what's going on in their life, but you know that that moment that you share with them means the world. You don't know what they can become. You don't know who they will be. And that doesn't matter because you do it because you love to do it. So I'd like to thank you all for having me here, and I'd like to thank everybody involved with the Boys and Girls Club for helping shape me into the man that I am. And I'd like to thank you all for being great individuals and giving your time and giving your love to people that you do not know. Thank you.
As the youngest of 8, raised by a single mother, Ruth Carter saw the Springfield Family Center Boys and Girls Club as an extension of her home. For her mom, the club was a vital neighborhood support system. Ruth joined the Western Massachusetts Club when she was 8 years old. She continued to attend until leaving for college, learning, growing, being enriched, and always under the watchful eyes of caring adults. At the club, Ruth participated in all sorts of activities. During arts and crafts, she and her older brother Roy would color and draw for hours. She also learned to swim at the club and received her first cooking and sewing lessons there too. After studying costume design at Hampton University, Ruth interned at the renowned Santa Fe Opera in New Mexico and the Los Angeles Theater Center. It was in LA when she met filmmaker Spike Lee, who hired her for his second film, School Days. Ruth has gone on to work on some 40 motion pictures, including Do the Right Thing, Cobb, The Butler, and most recently, Selma. The study and thoroughness Ruth brings to her work earned her Academy Award nominations for Spike Lee's Malcolm X and Steven Spielberg's Amistad, making her the first African American to be nominated for Best Costume Design. Please welcome Ruth E. Carter.
Thank you, Boys and Girls Club of America. You are the reason that I'm here today. It's lessons for life that you gave me, lessons that I'll never forget. I, as a young girl, remember walking up Maynard Street to Acorn Street, where the Springfield Girls Club resided, the Girls and Boys Club, that I saw that sign being erected as well when they changed the name. And I loved the club. It was a place that I could go to and I could have fun, and as they said, I could draw and I could sew and swim. And I remember swimming and loving to swim. I went to free swim with all the other club members and flailed around in the pool. But it was the the swim guard, what do you call them? The lifeguard, that's what it was. I'm nervous, I can't think of anything. It was the lifeguard that noticed that I loved to swim. Now, how does swimming have to do with me becoming a costume designer? I wonder how I can relate those two, but they do relate. So he saw me in the pool and he noticed that I love the water and I love to swim, and he said, you know, I'm gonna help you with your stroke. I'm gonna show you how to swim properly, because you need to put your head in the water and you need to stroke your arms like this and create a well. And as you swim and you stroke, you create a well, and you turn and you keep your ear in the water. And that well will create a little vacuum where you can breathe. And when you see that little vacuum and you breathe in with your mouth. So I learned how to breathe and put my head in the water and keep my ear down. And then he said, I want you to swim to the other end and back. And before I knew it, I was swimming laps, and I joined the little swim club at the club. And you know, everybody knows black women don't like to get their hair wet. So my hair was always all over my head, but I didn't care because I loved to swim. And we'd meet and I'd put on that blue rubberized bathing suit and I'd crank it on my body and we'd get in the pool. And one day he had ribbons for those who could swim 13 laps without stopping. And without stopping meant that you couldn't touch the side of the pool at all. You had to swim straight, back and forth, back and forth. And there was only about 3 or 4 of us, and I was really nervous. I had swam the laps, but I'd not really counted 13 of them. So I swam, and I touched the wall. I just touched it a little bit. I didn't know if he saw it or not, but I just touched it. And I didn't get the ribbon. But at the ribbon giving ceremony, I expected to get a ribbon, because I didn't think he saw that I touched the wall. And I was so mad at him for not giving me the ribbon. And he came to me afterwards and he said, Ruth, it's not about the ribbon. It's about knowing that you could swim the 13 laps. So how does that relate to me being a costume designer? Well, I went to Hampton University after I graduated from high school. And Hampton University didn't have a costume design dedicated major. But I decided that I wanted to be a costume designer, so I decided to study it anyway. And I went to the library, and I got books. And I studied costume design, and I looked for classes outside of the university, and I took classes here and there. And then I decided I would design all the plays that came to the stage, the little theater that we had. And I remembered it's really not about getting the award, it's about what you know. And I graduated with a degree in theater arts as a costume designer. And then in 1993, I was 31 years old, and I designed Malcolm X. Thank you. Spike Lee called me when he gave me the job, and he said, "Don't think about an Oscar." And I was like, I'm not. I had been already told not to think about the ribbon. So we went on to go to Egypt, and my sense of community, I think, carried me through that film, because I was 30 years old and it was massive. And I got nominated for an Oscar for Malcolm X, and I still wasn't thinking about the ribbon. In 1996, I did a film with Steven Spielberg called Amistad. We shot it right over in Mystic, Connecticut, near by where I grew up in Springfield, and I invited my mom to the set to meet Steven Spielberg. It was a big deal. And he came out and he grabbed my mother's hand, and she wanted to stand up and, you know, really pay him homage. And he said, "Your daughter doesn't say, 'Look at me, look at me, look at me.' She just does the work." So now do you want to know how that swim worked for me? So I really do have the Boys and Girls Club to thank for giving me those lessons that I carry today. And I never, ever forgot the lesson that I learned from that lifeguard who said, "Don't worry about winning the ribbon. You know you can do it." And I did.
The Elizabeth City Boys and Girls Club provided Vince McMahon with a sense of belonging and a vision of what was possible, both of which were lacking in his home environment in rural North Carolina. He looked up to club staff who mentored and cared about all of the kids. The feeling that somebody cared about him meant the world to him. He enjoyed all of the activities the club offered, especially basketball. Meeting other kids and teens from all walks of life showed McMahon there was a whole world of possibilities out there, beyond what he knew. Vince has come far from those early days. He is a third-generation promoter who has turned World Wrestling Entertainment into a global entertainment powerhouse and helped launch the careers of countless WWE superstars who have gone on to become household names. He is also a huge supporter of the U.S. military, bringing WWE superstars to war zones to entertain the troops since 2002. Please welcome Vince McMahon.
Many of you don't know a whole lot about me, at least not my private life. Just like many members of the Boys and Girls Clubs of today, the younger members, I grew up in abject poverty. From a broken home. In a home at one time it had no running water. But then we moved to a palace, an 8-foot wide house trailer. And the reason I mention that is I stand before you tonight as the epitome of the American dream. And what I'm saying is to the young boys and girls, if I did that, you can too. What the Boys and Girls Clubs are all about is giving. That's what each and every one of you in this room do. You're givers. Give of your time. Give of your energy. Give of your devotion. So when riding over to Chicago today, I'm saying, okay, what can you do? What can you do to honor those who are honoring you tonight? I said, well, wait a minute, you're Vince McMahon. You own something known as WWE. So why not take your assets and give them back? Why not take your assets like your television shows like SmackDown and Monday Night Raw and open those up to a whole world of what we can do in terms of the exploitation of all that you are doing, all of the giving that you're doing, and be able to show that on a global basis. Our television shows alone here in the United States reach some 13 to 14 million people every week. A large portion of those viewers are young people. We have a profound influence on those young people in a PG, family-friendly environment. We can do a lot for them. Then again, it's like, all right, Vince, you've got television shows. That's all well and good. What else do you have? All right, you've got something known as social media, which is the way young people communicate these days. You've got something known as Twitter, the most influential brand in all of Twitter. Facebook, things of that nature. You combine all of what we do, speaking the language of young adults, we can give back to them speaking their language in that format. Because we have some 500 million followers on social media. So use your social media to help all of you help them. Those are two ways. That's not good enough. Something known as digital media. It's not just watching television these days. It's all about watching it in different ways, in a digital format. So from there, you have influence as well. You upload videos on your YouTube channel, which is the #1 sports channel on YouTube. Better than the NBA, higher than Major League Baseball, and Andre, I dare say, ranked higher than the NFL. So use that, upload videos from young people in your Boys and Girls Clubs. Make that available to them. Make that available to you. And I said, wait a minute, there's something else I can do to give back, to honor those who are honoring me tonight. And that's with the WWE superstars. Names like John Cena, Hulk Hogan, primetime players, the list goes on and on and on. Why not use them as advocates to be able to reach these young people, be able to tell your story in a way that's not been told before, to have them come to your local Boys and Girls Clubs. They attract a lot of publicity. So it's all about giving. That's what we all do. And I believe that I can help you. WB can help you. All of our assets can help you in ways that you haven't been helped before. And to be able to, as your mission statement says, to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, responsible citizens. I'll do everything within my power to give back to all of you. May God bless the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and may God bless each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
And that's how we do it at the Boys and Girls Club National Convention, like that. Thank you, Vince. And thank all of the inductees. Can we give them a wonderful round of applause? And I'd like to give my able-bodied assistant, Miss Mariah Sullivan, a round of applause for helping me this evening. Can we do that? You know, we expect wonderful and great things from our youth of the year, and we expect nothing less for her. She's a wonderful young lady. Once again, Miss Mariah Sullivan. Did I say that right, Mariah Sullivan? Before we go, let us bring some of the newest members of the Hall of Fame up for one more round of applause. Can we bring them up, please? All the inductees. We're going to bring them up for photos. And while they're coming, let me say that I have thoroughly enjoyed myself once again at this national convention. This concludes our ceremony, but there's more celebrating to come. Of course, you know there's a big after party in the ballroom. So this concludes the 2015 National Convention Hall of Fame 25th Anniversary Gala. Congratulations, everyone.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know.
Yeah, a fresh, cool young Lou, trying to cash his microphone check 212. Wanna believe my own hype, but it's too untrue. The world brought me to my knees. What have you brung you? Did you improve on the design? Did you do something new? Where your name in on the guest list? Who brung you? You, the more famous person, you come through, and the sexy lady next to you, you come too. And then the hitman standing outside of heaven, waiting for God to come and get me. I'm too uncouth, unschooled to the rules, and too gumshoe. Too much of a newcomer and too uncool, like Shadow in the Veil. I battle with it well, though I need a holiday like Lady Who Sung Blue. Go back, whatever you did, you undo. Heavy as heaven, the devil on me 2 tons too.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know.
And you better wear your shades. The spotlights here can burn holes through the stage. Down through the basement, past the Indian graves where the dinosaurs laid, and out through China, nearly misses airliners magnified ×5. This is pointed at the rhyme. Ricochets off the moon and sets the forest ablaze. Now that's important to say, cause even with all that, most of us don't want it to fade. Duh. We want it to braid, meaning we want it to grow, meaning we want it to stay. Like the governor called, and he told him to wait. Unstrap him from the chair and put him back in his cage. The audience ain't phased, and they ain't gon' clap, and they ain't gon' praise. They want everything back that they paid, cause they've been waiting since 10 to see the lights get dim.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar.